Y'all be giving y'all homeboys, brothers, and boy cousins too many excuses. That's why they suck as fathers. I said what I said. I'll be the first to tell you that I did not make a good decision with the father of my children. I know for a fact that my ex-husband was cheating on me. I also knew that he was abusing me. But we were together as teenagers and we stayed together until I was in my mid-20s. We had a child right before I wound up divorcing him. So we were together for almost 6 years before we had our kid. Granted, we did have a few miscarriages, but I was emotionally attached to him. He was my first boyfriend, and we were together for almost 7 years. And I take full accountability for the fact that our relationship lasted way longer than it should have lasted. But I will say that when I was ready to leave him, he tried to kill me. So everything that I thought would happen if I left did happen, which is exactly why I stayed with him for so long. Because if you know, you know. When you're with a crazy man who puts his hands on you and who's always cheating on you, you stay sometimes just to keep the situation controlled. Not because you're still in love. You fall out of love. A lot of times you stay because you're like, dang, I know for a fact what's going to happen if I stay. But if I leave, I don't know if he's going to come back and try to kill me. And statistics show that 75% of the time they do come back and kill you. Luckily, me and my daughter got away. But me and my ex-husband had my daughter and my nephew we were taking care of together. So that's 2 children right there. After I left him, my daughter was 4 months old. My nephew was 7. Now my daughter is 8. Well, she'll be 8 in December. And my nephew will be 15 in January. He ain't never been there. Never, never, never. And when I say never, I mean never. In and out of jail and prison. And not when we was together, after I left him. In and out of jail and prison. No stable place. Definitely dealing with some mental issues there. I would be crazy to let him around my kids. No, he has not saw our daughter since before she turned 1, and he will not see her. Yes, him and his family have reached out, but why would I allow my child to be around someone who literally tried to kill me for leaving them? Y'all be letting y'all kids go around men that you know are abusive, then be confused when your child winds up getting abused or sexually abused. I'm not giving no man no chance to do that to my kids. If I know that you're mentally deranged enough to where I don't feel safe around you, father or not, I'm not leaving my kids with you. And for sure I ain't leaving my kids with your family if your family knew how crazy you was and still took your side when I left. That shows their character. I don't trust my kids around none of y'all. And then my younger 3 kids, I had them with my boyfriend after my husband. Again, I take full responsibility for the fact that he was not a good person. No, it's not my fault that he was not a good person, but I was literally less than 3 months from leaving my ex-husband when I got with him, and he was abusive too. So I went from one abusive relationship to the next, the only 2 relationships I've ever been in my life. That was my fault. No, I was not the abuser, but the way that I chose was my fault. But once you're in it, you're in it. And I attempted to leave this man multiple times. We were only together for 3 years and we had 3 kids. That shows you how much abuse I dealt with. A lot of times I would say no and he would still do it anyways. I got pregnant by default because I didn't have a chance to say no. Because when I tell him you can't stay with me, he will still come back. Like, it's a long story. It's a long story. But anyways, he broke my jaw after our first baby. Left him. You think he left? No. He kept coming back. I would lock him out of the house, wake up, he's on my couch. At this point, he was riding me off baby boy. I couldn't get him to leave. And again, sex was not an option. I had no choice. He didn't care what I was doing, how I was feeling. He was going to take it when he wanted it. So I had 3 C-sections back to back when I was with him. And every time I had a child while I was pregnant and while the baby was little, he was not helping financially, physically, nothing. He would watch the kids sometimes when he wanted some money. Like, you babysitting your kids for money? Long story short, he wound up breaking my ribs after our 3rd baby. So we were together for 3 years before I was like, I got to go. I moved out of town. It's been 4 years. I moved out of town with all my kids. So I have 5 kids out here. 1 with my ex-husband, my nephew, and then 3 kids with my ex-boyfriend. And people ask, well, is the dad in their life? Is the dad this? Is the dad? No. No. And And everybody has their opinions, and honestly, I couldn't care any less about anyone's opinions. I'm very firm in Christ. I'm very firm in my relationship with God and in the will of God in my life, and in the fact that my testimony is definitely allowing other people to be freed from the things that I was stuck in. But with that being said, I still have consequences. God didn't do this to me, but I have to walk out the consequences from the things that I dealt with. And I definitely dealt with a lot of abuse and a lot of sexual immorality in my life, period. Now, my kids, they saw a lot of abuse with my ex-boyfriend, with their dad. He was physically abusive to them too. They were all little. My oldest, my daughter that I had with my ex-husband, she was 3. Then my other kids were 2, 1, and 2 months old when I moved out here. That tells you right there how crazy he is. You were abusing kids that were that young. My 2-month-old at the time is the only one that he didn't abuse. So he was abusing me and our kids. Do you really think that I'm going to set up a parenting plan with him after I had to literally move states and go to a domestic violence shelter to get away from him? No. Yes, he's reached out. Yes, his family's reached out. But the same people that was there while he was abusing me and would tell me I needed to leave as soon as I left, they tried to get me to come back. They tried to get me to send my kids down there. They would tell me that I was wrong for keeping my kids away from him. But while I was there, y'all would tell me that I should leave. Y'all just don't like the way that I left, because I didn't leave the way that y'all wanted me to, and because y'all don't have access either. But when I left, I realized that the whole family was toxic, not just him. I realized it while I was there too, but I really realized it after I left and I was no longer in Stockholm Syndrome and I was able to view the whole situation for what it was. We was being mentally and financially abused by everybody. The physical was only by my ex-boyfriend. So no, we need to break that stigma, not just in Black families, but specifically in Black families, because me and my kids are Black, and I've dealt with this through a couple generations in my family on both sides. Break the stigma of because they share the same genetics as their parents, that they belong in their lives and that that's the best people that need to be in their lives. A lot of times the parents of these kids be the ones who hurt them. Let's talk about it. The parents of these kids be their first bullies. Let's talk about it. The parents of these kids be the reason why they have body dysphoria. Let's talk about it. The parents of these kids be the reason why they stop believing in God. Let's talk about it. There's so many parents out here who are still living out their high school dreams through their kids, and they treat their kids poorly. They don't talk to their kids well. They don't teach their kids nothing. They use their kids as a check. They don't really care how their kids' day goes. They don't really care whether or not their kids eat a balanced meal. They make their kids feel bad for the things they have to pay for when they're the reason why the kids are alive and need something paid for anyways. Not everybody wants to be a parent. And I hate when people say become financially stable before you become a parent. I'm the biggest advocate against that. You could be financially stable and still be selfish. You could be financially stable and still not even want to be a parent. You could be financially stable and still send your kids off to boarding school. Being financially stable does not make you a good parent. Your kid's experience depends on whether or not you actually want to be a parent. So make sure that you actually want to be a parent before you start having sex without condoms. Make sure you actually care about children. Make sure that you're married. But then, hold on, pause. Because I was married for 6 years. Well, I was with my ex-husband for 6 years. We weren't married that whole time, but still. I was with my man for 6 years before we had our first child. He still didn't get it together. The amount of time that you're with somebody, being married, having that secured, does not mean that you're going to be a good parent either. Do you have values of, first of all, rooted in Christ? Second of all, actually wanting to grow a child up, teach a child something? Are you selfless enough to take care of somebody? Because once you have a kid, it's not about you anymore. I take care of 5 every single day, and one of them didn't even come out of me, and I have no help from the other parents. No help. But this is what I do because this is what I've always done. I've always helped people with their kids before I even started having them. I love children. I love everything about being a parent. And if you don't, stop having kids, and don't force somebody to let you in the life of a kid that you produced if you don't want to be a parent. I said what I said.